Inflation gets a bad reputation, but the truth is more complicated. Like fire, it can warm your house or burn it down. Today, we'll show you exactly when inflation helps you and when it hurts you, and how to stay safe in between. In simple terms, inflation is when prices rise across the economy over time, meaning your dollar buys less tomorrow than it does today. Most experts aim for modest inflation around 2% per year to keep things healthy and predictable, but lose control and it becomes a wildfire that can destroy everything. The good side of inflation: stimulating spending and growth. One of the main reasons economists support healthy inflation is because it keeps money moving. When prices slowly climb, people prefer to spend or invest their money rather than hoard it. This behavior drives business growth, creates jobs, and keeps the economy running smoothly. Think of it as the engine oil that keeps everything moving without friction. When consumers know that waiting means paying more later, they're motivated to make purchases now. Businesses see steady demand, which encourages them to expand operations, hire more workers, and invest in new equipment. This creates a positive cycle where spending fuels growth, which in turn creates more opportunities for spending. It's why a stagnant economy with zero inflation can actually be more dangerous than one with modest price increases. Reduction of the real burden of debt. Here's where inflation becomes your friend if you're a borrower. If you take out a loan at a fixed interest rate, inflation means you're essentially repaying that loan with cheaper money over time. The nominal amount you owe stays the same, but the real value of those payments shrinks as prices rise. For example, if you borrowed $100,000 at 4% interest when inflation was 2%, but inflation rises to 3%, your real interest cost drops. This is especially beneficial for mortgages and student loans, where you're locked into fixed rates for decades. Meanwhile, your income typically rises with inflation, making those fixed payments feel lighter over time. It's one reason why taking on reasonable debt during low interest periods can actually be a smart financial move. The bad side of inflation: hyperinflation, the worst case scenario. When inflation spirals completely out of control, you get hyperinflation, and this is where economies collapse. We're talking about currency devaluing by the hour, prices doubling daily, and life savings becoming worthless overnight. Zimbabwe in the late 2000s saw inflation rates so extreme that they printed $100 trillion notes that couldn't buy a loaf of bread. Venezuela's recent crisis forced people to weigh cash instead of counting it because the bills had so little value. In these situations, the social fabric tears apart. People lose faith in their currency entirely, turning to barter systems or foreign currencies. Businesses shut down because they can't set prices that make sense. Retirees who saved their entire lives watch their pensions become worthless. The government loses its ability to function because its own currency can't buy anything. Recovery from hyperinflation takes decades, if it happens at all. It's the economic equivalent of a nuclear meltdown. The erosion of purchasing power. Even moderate inflation can devastate those on fixed incomes. Retirees living on pensions, people receiving disability payments, or workers whose wages don't keep pace with rising prices all suffer the same fate. Their money buys less each year. What used to cover a month's groceries now barely lasts 3 weeks. The medications they need become unaffordable. The small luxuries that made life enjoyable disappear. This squeeze is especially cruel because it's gradual and relentless. A 3% annual inflation rate doesn't sound catastrophic, but it means prices double every 24 years. Someone who retired at 65 with what seemed like adequate savings will find themselves struggling by age 85. The gap between the wealthy, who can invest their way ahead of inflation, and the poor, who cannot, grows wider with each passing year. This is where inflation becomes a stealth tax on the most vulnerable. Finding the balance. Central banks worldwide walk a tightrope every single day. They need enough inflation to keep the economy growing, but not so much that it destroys wealth and destabilizes society. They use interest rates, money supply controls, and forward guidance to try to hit that sweet spot, typically around 2% annual inflation. It's an imperfect science. Sometimes they overshoot and inflation runs too hot. Other times they're too cautious and the economy stagnates. External shocks like pandemics, wars, or energy crises can throw their careful calculations into chaos. but the goal remains constant. Maintain that controlled burn that warms the economy without letting it become a destructive inferno. Practical tips for navigating inflation. Stay informed by following inflation data, central bank announcements, and official forecasts. Knowledge is your first defense against being caught off guard by price changes. Diversify your investments beyond cash and bonds. Real estate, stocks, commodities, and inflation index bonds can help protect your wealth when prices rise. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially not in a basket that loses value over time. Consider your debt strategically. Fixed-rate loans can be advantageous during inflationary periods, while variable rate debt becomes more expensive. Time your major borrowing decisions with this in mind. Negotiate your wages regularly. If your income doesn't keep pace with inflation, you're taking a real pay cut every year. Don't let loyalty to your employer cost you your purchasing power. Build skills that remain valuable regardless of economic conditions. The best hedge against any economic scenario is your ability to create value and earn income. Inflation isn't purely good or purely evil. It's a force that must be carefully managed like fire itself. In small, controlled doses, it keeps the economy healthy and growing. But let it rage out of control, and it will burn down everything you've built.